So welcome back, and let's take a look how the reference management is going in details inside the text, and also how we need to follow the format requirements if you're referring to a figure or to a table or anything regarding to the dissertation, thesis work, TDK, blah, blah, blah. So usually, in the previous lectures and lessons, we were talking about that if you really want to use an official literature part, like a manuscript, a journal part, even a book or a website, you can use like some of the reference requirements. But in the case of the figures and the tables, this is a bit different. And if we call the figures, this is not just one type, what you mostly see in these scientific journals, because there are some infographics, even some pictures, which is not really scientific, but sometimes we put in. And also there is a special type of figure inside these papers, and even maybe in your thesis work as well, then there is a special type of field result it is represented there, which is, for example, here, radiology. So whatever you use, these are figures and also tables. And whenever you put something in your work, you really need to refer something inside the text, but how it works. So usually there are several rules about this one, but I'm going to show you now two. The first one, which is the most general, that whenever you put a figure inside a text, you need to write it that as the figure shows in, I don't know, figure 8, A part, there is one thing we want to highlight, or as shown is in figure 1. So this is the same thing, because like when you just put a figure inside the text, however, it is easy to understand that whenever you're talking about afterwards, the figure is going to represent, but you really need to follow this rule. Otherwise, they're going to criticize it like, hey, you did not refer this figure. And also it helps you and even the reviewers and the readers that, okay, now I need to look for the figure 8 because what this guy is talking about, it will show that part in that figure. The second one, the copyright attributions. So some of the figures which are not really made by you, but you are using it. And even there are some really itchy people about like, hey, this was my intellectual product and I need a copyright. I totally understood that one because they made it. But in that sense, if they are not due the permission to use that figure, now that's a plagiarism. So in that sense, if you want to avoid this whole copyright trouble, the only thing what you can do that indicate the origin of the reproduced or the adapted material and also the reference list that should be there, but how it looks in real life. For example, here, this figure shows something. This is a finance and information workers union, blah, 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 blah. But as you see, it was copyrighted by Erling Rasmussen, but it was reprinted with permission. Many of the lectures, if you take a look at your studies, people are showing you that this figure was used or this figure is showed by the permission of Dr. this and that. So they give a permission, and this is how they can use this one. Also, it is really important that if you don't have the permission and you are using it, now that's a really tricky part because they can sue you afterwards. Also, it is beneficial to know that everything what you're using, and it is like permission related or not permission related, or the copyrights free or not free parts, they are licensed for use with these Creative Commons ones. Maybe you heard about this one, but if you are looking for the more details about that one, feel free to click in the PDF on the Creative Commons license. This is mostly what people are using it, but there are some strict regulation regarding to the citation and also the reproduction. If you go further, there is a different type of figure. Maybe you're going to use it later on. And these are the ones which came from a database. I'm pretty sure that you heard about those databases, which is like an overall data from the European Union, in the USA, And so mostly these are the economical data sets, which were done by surveys by the governments. However, everyone can use all these. You need to write it down that which database from this data came. For example, here, if you see, this is the Emerging Asia database, copyright, blah, blah, blah. So every single time, this is the key. Whenever you use a figure and this is not yours, you need to cite it and you need to refer to the original source. Sometimes we are putting some pictures inside if you want to represent that, oh my gosh, I found a new species, which is really, really super interesting. Look at this super depressed green bird. But obviously, if this is not your picture, you really need to cite this one. And in the case of the picture, you cannot just write like, it came from the internet. You really need to insert in the website from which you get this picture. And in that sense, you refer to this because this is not your picture. But what happens if you have your own picture, but you want to incorporate it? Now, then you need to write down that, yes, I know that this is not an original picture from some website because I made it. In that sense, whatever you do, there should be some, let's say, information about the figure was made by the author, and this is an own picture. And in that sense, that's totally fine. This is another representation how it works. Again, you need to put that own picture is there. But don't forget that whenever you do a figure legend, it needs to involve the references and also like some of the description how it was made. I think it's really funny because that happens with me. The moment I saw like, hey, what's going on with you, Lilith? And then I realized like, yeah, maybe this is the charging method. And if you take a look at the, the figure legends, everything can be done easily. So sometimes I think people are overcomplicated how the figure legends should look like, but the most informative way to get a picture afterwards. Or another way. So this is also made by the author, and this is a non-picture, which shows you how the mood is changing if you give some treats for your dogs before you travel. There is one critical thing regarding to the copyrights and the plagiarism, which is the how should I write the same sentence in a different way? Because if you're working manuscript in like a scientific way, there should be a method. And obviously, you cannot write in a different way. Because if you say like, I need to boil my samples, there are only a few variations. But afterwards, it is important to see that if you are working from English into Hungarian, that's not a problem. But when you are using your friends' Hungarians or your supervisor's material, again, the plagiarism kicks in. So if you want to avoid that one, my advice is to make a figure out of that one. This figure shows you my PhD dissertation part when I didn't want to write exactly the same method again. So I generated a figure and then I would just say like, oh, this is the transformation of competent E. coli cells with talent plasmids and with surrogate reporter plasmids. And I didn't need to write afterwards like, yeah, that was a 60 minutes incubation and the heat shock for blah, blah. So in that case, you can avoid the plagiarism really easy. Now let's talk about the tables. Tables are also something that you need to refer even if you made it or not. If you made it like a reaction mixture of, for example, restriction digestion, that's totally fine. But there is one critical good part in here you need to know. In the case of the tables, we don't need to do a figure legend. So you don't need to explain why you add that much, why this is the composition. You just need to give a title, nothing else. Or there's another case when the whole chapter is a table, as you see on the right part of this slide. In that case, you don't need to give even a title number and title for the table because it's obviously that this chapter is about that which products we were using during the studies and the experiments. The list of abbreviation is the next topic. which is really crucial if you are working with a complex topic with a lot of abbreviations. The most important that whatever you used, like I know that it is really easy that, yeah, MS stands for the manuscript, PBS stands for the phosphate buffer cell in blah blah, which is super easy for you because you are working in. But let's imagine that somebody is reading it for the first time and he or she is not working with that exact solution, so they won't know. You really need to put the list of abbreviation in there inside the TDK work, thesis work, PhD dissertation. If we are working with manuscript, the first time when you are mentioned, I mean, you are mentioning that part, you really need to write down that what is that, for example, HCTH, which is the adenocorticotropic hormone, whatever. So if you are looking for further tips and rules, there are 3 beautiful websites in which all the citing requirements formats are there. So please go and check these out. Perfect. So now we know mostly about how you need to refer to the figure legends, figures, and tables. But the most important thing that you really need to use a proper way of formatting inside the text. So the moment when I starting to write something ages before, I was using the hard way. So I was not using any plugins in the Word. I was doing everything by the manual hard way. So I was typing and typing and typing, and I'm pretty sure that you remember this one, that introduction, pam, 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 pam. Okay, maybe some this, and then this is the page number. But that was the worst. And it consumed the most of my time and my nerves as well. So instead of this one, let's do something much more easy to execute. So first of all, the most important golden rule is that never format. The formatting will be the very, very last one. And this is really important because whenever you're starting to do the formatting, however, it looks really beautiful, it's good for your eyes. But you know, if your supervisor asking you to change, and there is one thing that you change, and then it is going to destroy the other rest, I don't know how many chapters. Now that's a nerve-wracking moment when like you cannot really know, I mean, you don't know what is the problem, why it is not looks like it should, because there were a lot of formatting parts. So take my advice and never format. The formatting should be the really, really last one. And also one more thing here, this sign, which is the show and behind the paragraph marks, these helping you to see where the formatting happened. So in my advice, I would suggest you to use this one because that you can follow up when it happens or what happened there. So what we are going to do now is just to make the basic schedule. No, it's not the schedule. I think this is the core part of how a TDK work, a thesis or a dissertation, whatever it looks like, which starts obviously, I guess, the list of contents. And also you would have list of abbreviation. Also you would have, I guess, an abstract, and then an introduction, and also you would have a material and methods, and then results section and conclusion, and also the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement, and the reference list. Reference list or reference, that's totally fine. So if this is the whole story that you want to make, like the abstract introduction, so these are the main chapter of your work. And Word has a plugin which called the heading type. The headings are on the top of the editing surface of the Word. So if these are the main chapters, and if you click on heading, then it is going to change the type of this one. So please select all of that one and click on headings. Now, as you see, the size of the text automatically changed, and there is one point next to it which shows you that it is formatted based on the heading styles. Obviously, if you click on the details and the styles, you can generate for your own like that you want. But if you just go with the basic setups, that's also totally fine. The good part here that whenever you type there, like the list of the contents or the list of the abbreviations or after the abstract, everything will be changed back to the normal type. So when you're starting to type here, it is going to get into the normal one. So getting into the next part, if you take a look of the major content of the, let's see, your core, and then you put an enter after everything, then as I mentioned, the normal setups are there, which is good because whenever you start to write something, it will be there. But the only reason why you're going to do this, or you should this, because when you are generating the list of contents, then all the headings, and if you have like subheadings or like second or third level of headings, then it will be there for sure. And it is really easy because one click, it is generating for you the list of contents. So what I'm going to do now, first of all, because it's really important to see where my parts are, like where my chapters are. So I'm going to generate a page number. So I'm going to insert, and then I'm going to use the page number function, and I'm going to use the bottom of page, the basic setups, which will be the plain number 3. And now you see that there is a page number here. So I'll double click back into the original material, and then I'm going to start write what is this story about. Based on your homeworks, I'm pretty sure that now you decide, like you decided already that that will be about the cats or that will be about the dogs. So I'm going to go with the cats. And the abstract in my case, I don't know. I'm going to start that the domesticated cats are felines who think they are gods and we are the servants. Obviously, this is totally bullshit. I mean, like nonsense writings now. There is no need to understand why I'm writing this one, but actually that happens. Like we are servants for the cats. If you have a dog, is a different story, but that's not the aim of this video now. So whenever you start to write, and then I'm going to write another sentence that the study focuses on the cats, or another sentence which means that we can conclude that these felines are super funny and helping relieve, or let's say helping out depression, and so on and so on and so on. So the reason why you're starting to write, because then you are going to fill up with the whole document with your thoughts. But I'm not going to start like formatting as I mentioned before. And also what we really need to see here, that whenever you do, just type it, like where the introduction goes, where the material method goes, and the results and everything. So why is it important? Because then now I'm going to generate a list of content. For example, here, I'm going to go for the reference work, and then I'm going to add the table of content function. And I'm going with the totally automatic basic setup. And if you take a look now, whatever you set up as a heading, it is incorporated in, which is really good because one click, you have everything. But now let's imagine that you change something and the page number will also change. So let's imagine that you want to have the abstract on the new side. And what you do if you are a dinosaur, you just typing the enters, right? Like 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 until it gets on the new site. So please don't do that. If I see again as a, I don't know, reviewer, this one, literally I'm getting like bald in a minute. My hair will gone. So please don't use this one. There is a special button for this one. Look, if you delete this one and then you click on the insert and page break, perfect. So you already get on the new page, the abstract, and we are going with the other one, which is the introduction. So I'm going to click on page break, and then we go with the material and methods as well, and then with the results as well. So basically you can do this one if you want to have everything on the same, I mean, on the different page, and you will see why I'm doing this now. So now everything is different, and now I have 8 pages. So I go back into the list of content part. Scrolling, and then I'm going to right click inside the body of the list of content table, and I'm going to update the field. So the program will ask me whether I'm updating the page numbers only or the whole entire table. Now I'm going with the page numbers, and voila, without anything, it is changed, right? So that's perfect. Now it's good because then I don't need to do it manually as I did years ago. Finally, good. Okay, so this is the list of contents. So now we are going to go further with the list of figures and the list of tables. But before we jump into that one, there is one critical thing. Just think about your readers. If your reader needs to scroll back into the PDF like years, that would be super annoying. And if you're using this kind of formatting, that would be super easy because as you see now, it shows that if you push down the Ctrl button and click on that part, it is going to jump directly there. So I'm going for the reference. I clicked and it jumped into. So if you made your Word file like this and then you save it into PDF like this, even in the PDF, you can click and jump to the proper page, which helps you out if you don't have time. So now I'm going to do some figure labeling, figure legends, and the proper formatting of that one. So let's imagine I said like 3 sentences here. It's not really important part that in the abstract. Usually we're not giving figures in the abstract, but I just want to show you something. Whenever I insert a figure, first I push and enter because that helps me out, like where I want these figures. So I'm going to insert a figure, which will be a picture in my case, or even you can do a screenshot. It's up to you what you are going to use. But let's imagine that now I have this one, and okay, that would be, for example, this. So now I have a figure, which is really nice. I'm going to resize it, but then I need to do the figure legend. So what I do is like right click and insert caption. Because this is a figure, the program automatically categorizes it as a figure, and figure 1 is the different modes of a cat. And I'm going to click enter. Perfect. So now I have this one. Then I'm going to do another one. Let's imagine I'm going to insert another picture, which will be this one. Oh, this is beautiful. Black kitty. Okay, so this is a different story. Again, I'm going to do the insert caption, but because this is a second figure, the program automatically sends it and it is generating the new numbers, which is figure 2, majestic cats and witchcraft, for example. Witchcraft. Yes, I'm pretty sure that I'm dyslexic now. Witchcraft. Good. But that happens, you know, if you're getting older. Anyways, now the second figure. So I'm going with the third one. I'm going to insert another picture from the device, and let's see, maybe this one. Again, right click, insert the caption. Now it's figure 3, and it will be typical parasites of the felines. And then okay. So now I have 3 figures with the 3 figure legends. Obviously, you need to follow the figure legends description rules, what we already discussed, but today I'm not going to show you in details because you would have a different section about that one. So now you have 3 figures in the story. Oh, there's some mistake here. Okay, good. But these are figures. The tables are a different story. So in the case of the introduction, I'm going to give like blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to insert some tables. Tables are different because you don't need to do a proper figure legend in that sense. You just need to give the title. It's up to you how you go with that one. It can be on the top or under the table, but there should be a title. So what I'm going to do now, I'm insert a table, and then I'm going to generate this one. I don't know, cat type, and then numbers, and then another number, and then the male cat, and I don't know, it will be like the main code, and then 23, 22, 1. Okay, obviously it doesn't make any sense now, but what is important here that if you left click on this sign and then right click and insert the caption, now, because this is a new thing that you inserted, the program asks you it is a figure. No, it's not a figure, it is a table. So I'm going to change, and it is changing into table 1, which is number of Maine Coon cats. Okay, now I have a table. Then I go with another one, insert another table. Let's see, this big, yeah. And again, I'm going to insert the caption, which will be table 2. I don't know what to write here. Yay. Okay, so now I have 2 tables now. And then obviously I'm going to insert another one just to make sure. Hundreds of empty cells. And it will be table 3, which is my beautiful data, which I want to show. Okay, now I have 3 tables and I have 3 figures. The good part here that when somebody is asking you that, can you just show me the figure 3, figure 5? It really takes a long time to get there if you're scrolling. So now let's generate a list of tables. So if you go back to the original, let's say list of content parts, or whenever you want, you can use the reference and then insert table and figures. So from now, I'm going to go with the figure part. So insert table of figure, I click on it. And if you take a look, now the 3 figures are there. Then I'm going to insert my tables as well. So insert table and figures, but I'm going to choose the table 1. And voila, I have 3 tables. So why is it important? Because if you push down the control button and click on it, it's automatically jump to that one. And that helps you a lot, believe me. So basically, this is how it works. These are the basic setups of the formatting and everything. I hope it helps. And yeah, whenever like you have some questions, feel free to ask. And we are going for the next formatting rules in the next lesson.